Welcome back to SportsLine, everybody. Time to talk some Titans. They, of course, are on their bye week, and boy, there's a lot going on with the two-tone blue, and not a lot of it's good. To help us break it all down, we head to Murfreesboro at his palatial home studio. There he is, handsome as ever, Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton. He, of course, our Titans insider and Titans analyst and NFL analyst for the electric power company Sunday Sports Central, pretty much all year round. Jonathan, good evening. It's back by popular demand. People said, when are we going to do another evening with Jonathan Hutton? And thank goodness we're doing it tonight. How are you, pal?
I'm great, John. The evenings with the two Jonathans talking sports, right?
That's right.
You interrupted a grand night of me. I call this my cram night. It's like a college final. It's the night before my first high school state championship game at the Blue Cross Bowl tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah. Which game are you doing?
I'm doing the Division II Class 3A game. So I've got McCallie against Montgomery Bell Academy.
Wow.
I've got Hamilton County against Davidson County. It should be a good game. It was a 3-point game earlier this season. And I normally get to do a high school game every week. This is only my third game all season. So I'm cramming it in before going to Atlanta. Of course, the state championships this year now in Chattanooga for the next 2 years. And that's right on the road to the SEC championship for me and Outkick. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you know, talk about that a little bit. You and Hutton and Koharski have done some really cool stuff with Outkick. Got to travel all over the SEC, all over the Southeast during football season. Yeah. How much fun has that been for you, my man?
Dude, it's been a blast. It's been different, you know, because I'm not traveling with the Titans. Right. You guys give me some semblance of sanity by coming in on Sunday Sports Central and talking some Titans football. But yeah, it's been a blast because I have not over the last 16 years been to these road trips across the SEC because I've been doing Titans things, which I loved. But now I'm seeing the college atmosphere for the first time, and it's not even really what's strange is we stay for probably half of the games we go to because it's more about the game day atmosphere. And the night before we've been, believe it or not, Clay Travis has a reality show. And we
I'm shocked to hear that.
Clay demanded it, right? He's got a reality show on Fox Nation.
Sure, of course.
And shameless plug there on the streaming app that they have. But we filmed that on Friday nights. And they hide our mics underneath our shirt. I mean, it's bizarre. It's walking in and you're all mic'd up. And we do that Friday night. Then we do the show Saturday morning. And then half the time we're driving back to Nashville because I want to be back in time to get up early and go to the Titans game the next day. Right. But in some cases, like Texas A&M, we stayed. I'd never been to College Station, and that was the A&M upset over Bama. And we stayed for that game, and I'm glad we did because that was the best college football game I've ever seen in person. It was a blast. And we've been to Bama quite a bit. I saw LSU nearly beat them. We went to the Ole Miss game against Bama. We will be there this week. We were at the Iron Bowl last week. It should be an interesting game against Georgia.
Absolutely. We'll get into that probably a little bit later on as we have our little Wednesday evening chat. All right, what about the Titans? You know, coaches always say, you know, the bye is coming at the right time for this team. The way all the injuries, all the turnovers, back-to-back tough losses, this bye, I can't believe how late it's coming, early December, but thank goodness it's here because if ever a team needed a break, it's the Tennessee Titans, no?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We were discussing today, though, on the show, and I'm sure you and Pogie have done the same thing. What can a week actually do to help them? I mean, I know it's a week where they can't get hurt, which is good. It's a week where they're a week closer to getting guys back, but I mean, it's hard to say who's back next week and who's not available. And I think they need some marquee guys back before I really feel comfortable saying that they're back on track. It's more about Henry, which we hope he's back in the playoffs. A.J. Brown, which he won't be back until San Francisco at the earliest. So he's not back against Jacksonville. You know, it's a weird situation where the injuries just continue to pile up. And for whatever reason, it bit the Titans this year. It's unfortunate because of what they had going on, but it feels like since about week 8 when Henry went down, week 9, that it has just been a downward spiral. And the crazy thing too, JB, is it didn't really even out. Like I don't think there hasn't been a game where you get through it and you think, oh, maybe this is the game they get through all the injuries. You know, they've got Monty Rice now on injured reserve after last week for their depth purposes, which is just terrible. So, yeah, as far as the health is concerned, the bye week helps them, but it may be too little too late.
And Jonathan, I know that in the NFL and coaches always say, hey, next man up, but this is ridiculous. You know, with the amount of injuries the Titans have had to deal with. And let's face it, last Sunday in New England, it certainly changed the way Belichick approached the game, especially defensively.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing, hey, I don't have to worry about A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. You know, I can be a little bit more aggressive. I can blitz more. I can play more man-to-man coverage. And we talked about that first third down of the game when Tannehill got sacked. They were just squatting on all the short routes. They felt like, you know what, you have no deep threat on this team. We're not even going to honor that. A guy like Belichick, who's an evil genius to begin with, knowing that I don't have to worry about, 11 and 8 on the field, I can approach this game a lot more differently defensively.
No doubt. And even if they're on the field, you can still approach the game differently because 22 is not in the backfield.
Right.
But I get your point. But without them, the wide receiver core does not have a guy a guy that, to what you're saying, that the defense respects enough that it takes some attention away, and you're worried about taking the bait defensively. Right now, they don't have that guy. You know, there's no speed element or the ability to get open in one-on-one coverage that makes a defensive coordinator say, you know what, we need to pay attention here because this is a true threat against us. You're right on the third down. I mean, they had no respect for the Titans wide receivers to get open in man coverage. So they just brought the house. And that's going to continue to happen until you get – I don't even know if it's Julio that needs to come back. There's a respect factor there.
Sure.
But it's AJ that is the motor to the offense and the engine that brings the element you're discussing. And once they get some semblance of the passing game back, then hopefully they can get into the postseason where – you have a chance at Derrick Henry returning. I still don't know if that's going to happen. I'm optimistic about it, but all is quiet on that front. I haven't heard anything on that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the only thing we heard was Diana Rossini's report not that long ago saying that there was quote-unquote growing optimism that Derrick would be back for the playoffs. But until it happens, we can't. It's hard for us to know one way or the other. You mentioned the passing game struggles, and listen, Ryan Tannehill's done a great job since becoming the starter here. But it's becoming more and more evident that he needs all his ducks in a row to be effective. And, this guy had 7 interceptions all last year. Right now he has 13. He's thrown, 5 in his last 2 games. He leads the NFL in interceptions. And I know a lot of it has to do with with his weapons being out. But where are you at with Ryan Tannehill? And should Titans fans be concerned about number 17?
Well, I mean, look, he's not as good as he was. I mean, that goes without saying. And forgive me, I'm looking down here because I'm trying to pull the note of the interceptions for actual attempts on the season. I'll find it here in a second. But I'm with you, John, on the questioning that because we can sit and point to the receiver issues. Tannehill hasn't looked the same even with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, quite frankly. Some of the picks are just there's been some throws that you look up and you go, you and I sit together at the Titans games. You go, wait a minute, what was that? You're not used to seeing it. And that's actually it's negative on Tannehill right now. It's also a compliment to what we know he's capable of. And I think he would admit that too. And there's some cases where, the phantom pass interference call against the Saints, or roughing the passer, roughing the passer in the New Orleans game where he threw an interception on that play in the end zone. To me, that's just a poor decision and a poor throw. Whereas there are other cases where Chester Rogers comes to mind on an incomplete pass where this past week, I don't know if he's running the wrong route. I would hope that he's supposed to turn outside and Tannehill put it on his outside shoulder where it should be. But there are just little things like that guys are not on the same page. Not all of that is on the quarterback. But like it or not, fair or unfair, the best quarterbacks in the NFL go in and they're expected to protect the football. And they're expected to elevate the play of the players around them because the quarterback position, unlike any other, a wide receiver can't make a quarterback better. In some cases, he can make a miraculous Odell Beckham Jr. type catch. But for the most part, the quarterback elevates the play of those around him. And Tannehill's got to do that. And we haven't seen that over the last 2 weeks. And there needs to be some semblance of that moving forward over the rest of the regular season, only for this factor. The magic number right now is 3. Any combination, any 3 of Titans wins or Colts losses adding up to the number 3, the Titans win the division. That's going to happen. If you look at the Titans schedule and the way the Colts play up and down, that's going to happen. So it's not like I worry that they're somehow going to slip out of the divisional lead, but there needs to be some essence and flow and rhythm to the offense that we haven't seen. Even when the run game has been going, they ran for 270 yards last week.
Yeah.
And he was only able to manage 96 yards passing. That's an issue that has to be addressed first and foremost by protecting the football. And it's even more important when the defense isn't getting turnovers. And it's not all on the defense in an offensive league. You know, we're praising the Titans for scoring 30 a game last year. Last week, they just needed to get to around 20 and couldn't do it. And ultimately, the Patriots then put them away once they got the football back, and they couldn't push Kendrick Bourne out of bounds. All that to say, it's equal parts Tannehill and wide receiver, because look, he's not playing with the full deck right now. Right. But there have been some throws across the middle where a quarterback shouldn't make the throw. I mean, I don't know if the wide receiver's in the wrong spot or not. The quarterback lets it fly from his hand. If you're telling me he's going to throw that anyway, he might as well play blindfolded and do it on timing, because that's just not how the league works.
Yeah, and you know as well as I do, Tannehill's too classy of a guy to throw his receivers under the bus, so we won't know if that's a receiver issue or a quarterback issue, or maybe a little bit of both. All right, Jay Hutt, hang loose. We're just getting started. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about these turnovers and what's going on with the Titans defensively as well. It's another evening with Jonathan Hutton right here on SportsLine, News Channel 5 Plus. Stay with us.